The rain fell in relentless torrents, pounding the cracked pavement of Lexington Avenue in Baltimore. Streetlights flickered, their dim amber glow struggling to pierce the downpour, casting uneven shadows across the worn facades of pawnshops and shuttered storefronts. It was well past 11 p.m., and the Lexington Diner, a small, neon-lit haven on the corner, should have been closed. But Serena Carter, a 32-year-old black waitress with a weary smile and an unyielding heart, wasn't the type to lock the doors when someone needed shelter. Serena wiped down the counter, her chestnut-brown skin glistening with sweat from a grueling 12-hour shift. Her braids were pulled into a tight bun, and her apron was stained with coffee and grease. The diner was quiet now, save for the hum of the refrigerator and the occasional sizzle from the grill cooling in the back. She was about to flip the open sign to closed when movement outside caught her eye. Small figure hunched in a battered wheelchair just beyond the diner's neon glow. A boy, no older than 12, sat shivering under a tattered coat, his dark hair plastered to his forehead, hands clutching a frayed blanket that offered little protection against the cold. Serena's heart clenched. She set her rag down and pushed open the diner's glass door, the wind hitting her like a slap. "Hey, sweetie," she called, her voice gentle but firm as she crouched beside him. "What are you doing out here all alone?" The boy flinched, his blue eyes wide and uncertain. "Waiting for my dad," he mumbled, barely audible over the rain's drumbeat. His fingers tightened around the blanket, knuckles pale. Serena scanned the street. No one, just the flickering cash for gold sign across the road and the hiss of tires on wet asphalt. "Where's your dad at?" she pressed, concern creeping into her voice. "The boy Daniel," she'd later pulling the blanket closer. Serena exhaled, her breath visible in the chilly air. She'd seen too many nights like this, too many kids left waiting for someone who wasn't coming. "You can't stay out here in this mess," she said, offering a warm smile. "Come inside." "Okay. It's warm, and I've got something special for you." Daniel hesitated, his eyes searching hers for a moment before he nodded slowly. Serena took hold of the wheelchair's handles, navigating the uneven sidewalk with care, and pushed him into the diner. The warmth enveloped them instantly, the scent of buttered toast and burnt coffee wrapping around them like a blanket. She guided him to a booth near the radiator, draping a clean towel over his shoulders before crouching to meet his eyes. "I'm Serena," she said, flashing a grin. "What's your name?" "Sweetheart." "Daniel," he sniffed, his fingers curling around the towel's edge. "That's a strong name." Serena nodded approvingly. "You hungry?" He nodded hesitantly, and Serena didn't wait for more. She moved to the kitchen, her sneakers squeaking on the linoleum floor, and pulled out a fresh loaf of sourdough. With practiced ease, she sliced it thick, slathered it with butter, and grilled it until the cheese melted into golden, gooey perfection. She paired it with a bowl of tomato soup, her grandmother's recipe, the kind that warmed you from the inside out. Minutes later, she set the steaming plate in front of Daniel, tucking a napkin into his lap. "This one's on me," she said. Daniel's eyes widened as he took his first bite, the cheese stretching in long strings. "This is the best thing I've ever had," he murmured, his voice tinged with awe. Serena chuckled, leaning against the booth. "Good food makes everything better." But inside, her chest ached. She knew that look the one kids wore when the world had already asked too much of them. What Serena didn't know was that someone was watching. Across the street, a sleek black Bentley idled in the shadows, its tinted windows reflecting the diner's neon glow. Inside, Raymond Holt, a 46-year-old billionaire and CEO of Holt Dynamics, sat in silence, his sharp gray eyes locked on the scene unfolding before him. Daniel was his son, and Serena's act of kindness feeding his boy without hesitation was about to change her life in ways she couldn't imagine. Raymond's jaw tightened. He'd been delayed by a call with investors in Japan telling Daniel to wait by the diner for just a few minutes. He hadn't expected the rain to worsen or for a stranger to step in where he'd failed. He reached for his phone, dialing quickly. "Nora," he said when his assistant answered. "Get to Lexington Diner. No suits, no heels. I need you there in 20 minutes. A pause. "Sir, find out everything you can about the woman who just fed my son." He hung up, his gaze never leaving the diner. Inside, Daniel was laughing, for the first time that night, swinging his legs under the table, soup stains on his chin. Serena wiped them away with a napkin, shaking her head. "Messy eater, huh?" Across the street, Raymond watched, his expression unreadable, his mind already calculating. He didn't believe in kindness without motive. He believed in debts. Serena Carter had just put him in hers. Serena glanced out the diner's window, the rain streaking down the glass in uneven trails. Daniel was finishing his sandwich, his fingers warm now, his face softer, free of the guarded tension he'd worn. Outside, the sight brought her a quiet satisfaction, one more moment of kindness in a world that often forgot how to give it. Then the door swung open, cold air rushing in, followed by a woman in jeans and a hoodie, blonde hair tucked under a faded Orioles cap. She moved with a sharpness that didn't match her casual clothes, her eyes scanning the diner with a practiced efficiency. Serena had worked long enough to spot someone who wasn't here for coffee. The woman's gaze landed on Daniel, and she softened her expression, crouching beside him. "Hey champ," she said, her voice too smooth, too rehearsed. "Time to go." Daniel frowned, wiping his mouth with the napkin Serena had given him. "But I haven't finished my milk." The woman Nora, though Serena didn't know her name yet, tilted her head with a practiced smile. "You can take it with you. Your ride's waiting." Serena's instincts flared. She'd seen too many moments like this, people dismissed, shuffled off without a second thought. She folded her arms, studying the woman. "You know him?" The woman's smile didn't falter, but her shoulders tightened, a flicker of hesitation in her eyes. "Yeah," she said smoothly. "I'm his aunt." Serena didn't blink. She turned to Daniel. "That true sweetheart?" Daniel hesitated, just a second too long. Nora's jaw tightened, and Serena's gut screamed. She'd grown up in a world where hesitation meant everything, where it could signal fear, coercion, or worse. She crouched beside Daniel, meeting his uncertain eyes. "You good, baby?" she asked, her voice soft but firm. "You want to go with her?" Daniel looked between them, his fingers clenching the napkin, knuckles whitening. "She's here for my dad," he mumbled. "I guess I have to." Serena's chest tightened. She wanted to push harder, to demand more, to ensure this kid was safe. But she knew the risks a black woman pressing too hard could draw the wrong kind of attention. Still, she wouldn't let him leave empty-handed. She walked to the counter, grabbed a chocolate chip cookie wrapped in wax paper, and slid it into Daniel's hand. "For the road," she said. Daniel's fingers curled around it, and he grinned, small but genuine. "Thanks, Serena, you're the best." Serena forced a smile, but unease coiled in her gut. She watched as Nora wheeled Daniel toward the door, the tension between them palpable. Just before stepping into the rain, Nora glanced back, her eyes locking with Serena's, a warning, clear as day. Across the street, the Bentley's headlights flashed. Nora approached, and the rear door swung open before she could knock. Raymond stepped out, his broad figure framed by the diner's neon glow. Once Daniel was safely inside, buckled in the back seat, Raymond turned to Nora. "Well," Nora exhaled, pushing back her hood. "She's sharp," she admitted. "Didn't buy the aunt story. Almost called me out." Raymond's expression didn't change, but she let him go. "She didn't have a choice," Nora said pointedly. "You know how it is. A black woman making a scene, she'd have been the one in trouble, not me." Raymond's jaw twitched, but he said nothing. Nora folded her arms. "She's not like the others." Raymond already knew that. He'd seen it the moment Serena stepped into the rain without hesitation. The way she spoke to Daniel, like he mattered, not like he was a burden. He'd watched people bend and flatter for his money, but Serena hadn't even known Daniel was his son. That made her dangerous and valuable. He slid into the car, his voice low. "I want everything on her. Name, address, background, on my desk by morning." Nora hesitated. "Sir, by morning," he repeated, fastening his seat belt, staring ahead. Nora nodded and closed the door. The Bentley pulled away, the diner shrinking in the rearview mirror. But Raymond's mind was on Serena Carteret, the debt he owed her. Serena trudged home through the rain, her sneakers soaked, the chill seeping into her bones. The diner's tips weighed lightly in her pocket, $12.47. Barely enough for groceries, let alone rent. But Daniel's grin lingered in her mind, a small light in the darkness. Still, something about the encounter gnawed at her, the woman's polished smile. Daniel's hesitation, the sense that something bigger was at play. Her one-bedroom apartment on West Fayette Street was a far cry from luxury. The heat barely worked, the walls were thin, and her neighbor's TV blared through the night. She shut the door, leaned against it, and rubbed her face. She'd learned long ago to stay out of things that weren't her business, but this felt different. WRONGA knock startled her. No one visited at this hour. She peered through the peephole, her stomach flipping. A man stood outside, tall, broad-shouldered, in an expensive black coat that screamed money. His face was sharp, his gray eyes cold and assessing, like he'd already dissected her before she opened the door. She didn't open it. "Who is it?" A pause. "Raymond Holt." The voice was deep, controlled, too controlled. "What do you want?" Another pause. "To talk." Serena's gut screamed hell no, but curiosity won. She unlatched the door, opening it just enough to see him clearly. He didn't belong here in her building, her neighborhood, her world. I don't know you, she said flatly. No, Raymond replied, his expression unreadable. But you know my son. Serena's pulse skipped. She studied him now, the way his presence filled the doorway, his coat damp but his shoes spotless. This was power, the kind that could crush without effort. Daniel, she said slowly, you're his father. His nod was barely perceptible. I was across the street last night. The chill in her bones sharpened. You were watching. I was. Raymond's gaze flickered, unreadable. I'm here because I don't believe in charity. I believe in paying debts. He pulled an envelope from his coat and placed it on her rickety kitchen table. Serena didn't move. The envelope was thick, expensive, the kind that carried weight, literal and figurative. What's that? A job offer? Her brain stalled. Or what? Raymond tilted his head, as if gauging her. A job at Holt Dynamics. 6 figures, benefits, the works. Serena let out a sharp laugh, incredulous. You think I want to work for some rich white man who thinks a check makes us even? Raymond didn't flinch. I don't think you want charity, Serena. That's why I'm not offering it. Her name in his mouth made her chest tighten. She folded her arms. You don't even know me. I know enough, he said, his voice steady. I know you fed my son without expecting anything. I know you didn't treat him like an inconvenience. I know that's rare. Serena swallowed, his words hitting something raw. She glanced at the envelope, its weight taunting her. What would I be doing at Holt Dynamics? Making coffee. His mouth twitched, almost amused. No, you'd work directly with me. Negotiations, public relations. You're good with people. I need someone like that. She snorted. You don't need me. You've got a company full of Ivy League grads who'd kill for that job. That's exactly why I don't trust them. His expression shifted, just slightly. Silence stretched, heavy. Serena felt the offer pressing against her, her pride, her exhaustion, her refusal to be bought. But 6 figures meant no more late rent, no more stretching $20 for a week. Her mother's voice echoed. Never owe these people anything, baby. They don't give without taking. Why me? She asked, her jaw tight. Raymond held her gaze, and something in his eyes flickered. Because you saw my son, he said, his voice lower, almost costly. Not my money, not my name. You saw him. Her throat tightened. She looked at the envelope one last time, then picked it up. I'll think about it, she murmured. Raymond studied her, then gave a curt nod. Good. He turned and left, the door clicking shut behind him. Serena stood there, the envelope heavy in her hands. She already knew she was more than thinking about it. Serena's first day at Horizon Dynamics was like stepping onto a stage, where everyone knew the script, except her. The towering building in downtown Baltimore, a fortress of glass and steel, gleamed with cold perfection. She wore a navy blazer from Macy's clearance rack and thrifted heels that pinched her toes, but she kept her head high as she crossed the lobby, feeling every eye on her. The looks weren't hostile, but they weren't welcoming either. Curiosity, judgment, calculation. She was an outsider, and they sensed it. Raymond waited in his office, a sprawling space with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the inner harbor. His desk was pristine, more sculpture than furniture. He didn't glance up when she entered, just gestured to a chair. You're late. Serena arched a brow, sitting. By 2 minutes. 2 minutes I don't get back, he said, finally meeting her eyes, his gray gaze sharp. She exhaled, shaking her head. Look, you want me here or not? He leaned back, studying her. That remains to be seen. Before she could retort, the glass door opened, and Nora walked in, a tablet in hand, her expression unreadable. Her blonde hair was sleek now, her suit tailored, but Serena recognized the same calculating sharpness from the diner. Miss Carter, Nora said, her tone smooth. Welcome to Horizon Dynamics. Serena met her gaze, a slow smile curling. Oh, we're doing last names. Good. To see you, Ms. Winters. Nora's eyes flickered for a split second before she turned to Raymond. I've prepared the reports for the Orion Group negotiation. Should I brief her on protocols? No, Raymond said. I will. Nora nodded, but hesitated at the door, glancing back at Serena. Good luck, she murmured. It didn't sound like encouragement, it sounded like a warning. Raymond dove into work without preamble, sliding a file across the desk. Orion Group, he said. They want to push through a contract, offshore production, cut labor costs. It means layoffs. Serena skimmed the file, her stomach turning. And you want me to, what? Convince them not to. I want you to do what you do best, Raymond said, his gaze unwavering. Read people. She sat back, crossing her arms. So you think I can charm these billionaires into growing a conscience? No, he said bluntly. I think you understand something they don't. And what's that? He leaned forward slightly. That people with nothing to lose fight the hardest. The words hit deep, unspoken truths resonating in her chest. She stared at him, then exhaled. You talk in riddles for a tech CEO. The corner of his mouth twitched, almost a smile. Meetings at noon. Don't be late. The conference room was colder than the rest of the building, all steel and glass, designed to intimidate. Serena sat beside Raymond at a long mahogany table, facing three men in tailored suits. The leader, Philip Langford, 60, with slicked-back white hair, radiated old-money arrogance. He barely glanced at her, dismissing her presence outright. Raymond opened the discussion. You want to move production to Taiwan. You say it saves costs, increases efficiency. I say it destroys a workforce that's built this company for decades. Langford's smile was thin, patronizing. You misunderstand, Raymond. It's not personal, it's business. Serena's fingers curled beneath the table. Not personal. She'd heard that excuse when her mother lost her job, when her neighborhood was redeveloped. She smiled, but it was steel. Funny, she said, tilting her head. It's always just business until it's your job on the line. Langford's eyes snapped to her, his first acknowledgement of her presence. Raymond didn't interrupt. He watched. Langford exhaled sharply. And you are? Serena Carter, Horizon Dynamics, she said, unflinching. He gave her a once-over, dismissing her again. Look, sweetheart, I get it. You think we're the villains. But this is about numbers. Sweetheart, Serena's jaw locked. She leaned forward, matching his posture. Let's talk numbers. She slid a document across the table. This breaks down what happens when you're offshore. Sure, you cut costs initially, but in 3 years, labor demands rise, and your new hub gets expensive. You'll spend millions restructuring, rehiring, and handling PR disasters when headlines scream American workers betrayed. That's not a guess, that's market analysis. Langford glanced at the file but didn't touch it. Serena held his gaze, unyielding. You can make the smart choice now, or explain to your investors why short-term gains cost them long-term returns. Silence. Langford exhaled, picked up the paper, and scanned it. Raymond didn't smile, but Serena felt the shift in the room. She'd changed the game. Langford set the document down, his expression unreadable. We'll revisit the proposal. Raymond nodded. See that you do. As Langford and his team left, Raymond's gaze settled on Serena. Well, she smirked. Damn right I did. For the first time, she felt like she belonged. 2 months later, Serena had carved a place at Horizon Dynamics, or so she thought. She'd learned to navigate its power dynamics, to hold her ground in a world that barely acknowledged her. She'd faced down Langford and won, proving she wasn't a token hire, but victories at the top were fragile. She was returning from a client meeting when Nora caught her in the hallway, her tone urgent. We have a problem. Serena frowned. Define problem. Nora handed her a printed email. Serena's stomach sank. It was a classified financial report, leaked to the press, and the email forwarding it bore her name. The words blurred, the air thickening. This isn't mine, she said, her voice steady despite the panic rising in her chest. I know, Nora said, but someone wants it to be. Serena's pulse thrummed. She'd seen how fast things spiraled for someone like her. A black woman in a white space didn't get the benefit of the doubt. Who's seen this, Raymond? Nora said. And the board. Serena's breath hitched. The board. She'd clawed her way into this company, and now they were poised to rip her out. Raymond's office felt colder than usual. He sat at his desk, hands clasped, his expression unreadable, but his gray eyes weighed her. Tell me I wasn't wrong, he said, low and controlled. Serena slammed the email onto his desk. This isn't me. He didn't look at the paper. I want to believe that, he said, but this is a serious leak. Millions in exposure, stock drops, investigations. You understand how bad this is. I understand perfectly, she snapped, leaning forward. I also understand someone knows exactly what they're doing. I'm the easy target, right? The outsider, the black woman with too much confidence. Who's going to believe me over some executive with a decade here? Raymond didn't flinch or disagree. The silence stretched, her nails digging into her palms. Do you think I did this? He held her gaze. No, her breath released, but he continued. The board does. Serena swore, pacing. So what now? Raymond exhaled, rubbing his jaw. We find the real leak. She froze. He stood, slipping on his jacket. Nora's tracing the email source. It was routed through an external server. Someone covered their tracks well. We'll have to be smarter. Serena crossed her arms, leveling him with a look. And if we don't find them in time, if the board cuts me loose, his jaw tightened, then we make them regret it. For the first time, Serena believed him. Whoever had set her up was about to learn what kind of fight they'd started. Serena and Nora worked through the night, combing server logs, tracing digital breadcrumbs. The leaker had been careful, but not flawless. By dawn, they'd founded a secondary account tied to Eric Calloway, a senior executive with a decade at Horizon Dynamics and a knack for staying clean while others did his dirty work. Serena stormed into the boardroom before they could summon her, the air thick with tension. Polished men in suits stared her down, already convinced of her guilt. Raymond sat at the head, unreadable. Miss Carter, an older board member with a thin-lipped smirk, gestured to a seat. I assume you know why you're here. Serena didn't sit. I do, she said, her voice steady. And I assume you know you're about to make a very expensive mistake. A flicker of amusement crossed Raymond's face, but he stayed silent. The board member started. Miss Carter, she cut him off, pacing. I was an easy target, right? The new hire, the outsider. Pin it on me, sweep it under the rug. She stopped, placing a thick folder on the table. Except you picked the wrong one. She slid the folder forward. Silence stretched as they skimmed the documents traced emails. Bank transfers, call logs with reporters or linked to Calloway. His face paled to seats down. These are verified, Serena said, crossing her arms. Legal has copies. So does the press. If you want to talk damage control, I'd start there. Calloway shot to his feet, his voice sharp. This is ridiculous. He's bluffing. Serena turned to Raymond, lifting a brow. Am I? Raymond's voice cut like glass. No, she's not. Calloway's mouth snapped shut. Raymond stood, adjusting his cufflinks, effective immediately. Eric Calloway is terminated. Full legal action will follow. He turned to the room. If anyone else thinks they can play this game, let this be a warning. The silence was absolute. Serena didn't smile. She didn't need to. She'd won. 2 weeks later, Serena stood beside Raymond at Daniel's middle school graduation. The boy grinned from his wheelchair, clutching his diploma like a treasure. I told you I'd make it, he said, chest puffed out. Serena laughed, ruffling his hair. Never doubted you. Raymond watched his cool exterior softer. You did good, Carter, she smirked. Damn right I did. Daniel glanced between them. Are you guys gonna hug or something? Raymond sighed. Absolutely not. Serena rolled her eyes. God no. Daniel grinned, and for the first time, Serena felt she'd built something real, something that mattered. Years later, Serena sat in her executive office at Horizon Dynamics, her name on the door as Vice President of Corporate Strategy. What began as a job had become a mission. Under her leadership, the company launched ethical labor initiatives, mentorship programs, and partnerships with minority-owned businesses. A community center, the Carter Holt Foundation, funded education and jobs for underserved youth. At its ribbon-cutting, Daniel, now a college freshman, stood beside her, grinning like the kid who'd once gotten a free meal. You changed everything, he said. Serena smiled, her heart full. Kindness always pays off.